Hello everyone, welcome to IT for Biomedical Students slash Engineer series. We are at part 6 and we will be looking at what is DHCP and what is DNS. So what is DHCP? DHCP is called Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. In a short form, we always call it DHCP. So why do we need DHCP? What is DHCP? Usually when you need to have an IP address assigned to any devices, computers, servers, or any PC, even the medical devices, any devices in the industry, you have two options. One is static, other one is dynamic. So static is like you manually go and then assign an IP address to each devices. So you have the record with you that okay, this devices will have so and so IP addresses, and this devices will have so and so IP addresses, and you manually enter it. And that's not going to be changed at all at any point of time unless you go and change it manually. But when it comes to dynamic, it is get assigned automatically by itself. How does it do? We will look into it. And it does not stays long as same forever because it will work on a lease basis. Maybe after 3 days or after a while it will get changed to another IP addresses. So do we really need it? Yes, we do. Based upon the situations we have, we sometimes need static IP addresses and sometimes we need dynamic IP addresses. So we will see this dynamic host configuration protocol DHCP is what used in a dynamic method of assigning an IP addresses to any devices. Okay. So how does this work? You have a PC and you have a DHCP server on your network. So some server is configured or installed with the DHCP option on your network. So that is the guy who's the manager on your network who's for the DHCP. Yeah. So for that role. So he's the one who is going to manage the IP addresses on your network. So what happens is when the PC is configured to obtain an IP address automatically, what happens? This PC will send a request to the DHCP server on the network, looking for the DHCP server first, and then it will send that I want an IP addresses for my PC. So the DHCP server will say, okay, here is an IP address for you, and then it gives back the IP addresses, subnet mask, and default gateways as well. So and then this device gets an IP addresses. So that's how a PC in a network gets an IP address automatically. This method of getting it uses a protocol called DHCP, and it comes in default in many network devices. And it's very common in the networking world to use DHCP to assign an IP addresses to the devices. But this IP addresses is not going to stay forever the same. Sometimes when you restart the devices, it gets changed. Sometimes it has the lease period. Once the lease period gets over, you restart the PC, it gets changed. So it happens on that basis of the how the DHCP servers are configured. So the second concept we are going to look here is domain name system. In short, it's called DNS. It's widely used as called as DNS. So why do we need DNS? So for example, you are in your browser and you wanted to access a website, for example, www.google.com, anything. So what happens is it leaves your network and goes to Google server, and then asks for, okay, I want to access it www.google.com, and then it gives back, okay, this is the web page with google.com. Yeah. So then it gets displayed on your PC. This is your PC. So this gets it looks very easier. So that's how we think it happens. But in between, it's not happening exactly how we just see. There is something in between. What is that? For example, when you type www.google.com, when things leaves your, let me just try to change the color. So when the things leaves your PC, it does not leave as www.google.com. It has to be an IP address, a destination IP address. It can't be google.com because the computer world does not understand these kinds of words. It always works with the numbers and it always works with an IP addresses when it comes to the computers or PCs or servers, anything to access. So what you're supposed to do, you're not supposed to write as a www.google.com. You are supposed to write an IP addresses of the google.com. But is it really practical to do so? Really not. You can't remember an IP address of the google.com and so many websites you have. So what happens is there is a DNS server in between which helps to convert when you type www.google.com, and it helps to give you an IP addresses of that google.com. So by that the PC gets to know, okay, this is an IP address for google.com. So I'm going to use this by a particular IP addresses. So we will clearly look at that within an example, so you'll get some idea. Okay, let's look at an example. You have a PC here, and then you have a DNS server, and then you have www.example.com. We were saying google.com before. Let's take an example.com. So the PC here on the left side wants to access www.example.com. So you just type www.example.com on your PC. So what's happening is the PC says, I need directions for www.example.com to the DNS server. So the PC already has a record of IP address of the DNS server. So it tells, okay, do you have an directions for www.example.com? Then the DNS server looks into it, databases or its record, and then it sees, yeah, I know the IP addresses for the www.example.com, and here is the IP addresses xx.xxx whatever. Usually it's a number. I'm just putting some random xx. So then PC is like, now PC knows the IP addresses of www.example.com. As an end user, you don't know. All you do is www.example.com on your PC. So internally, it goes to the DNS server on the network and it gets an IP addresses, and then it starts the communications with www.example.com using the IP addresses it received. So moving forward, the PC will use this IP addresses to communicate with the example.com because now it has an IP address details for that www.example.com. So that's how it works in the real world. This is also applicable when it comes to you using, for example, the shared folder. If you want to access a shared folder, people are not going to give you an IP address of the PC shared folder. So they normally give you the name of that. So what you do, there is a DNS server in between that will do that. Okay, so you can also manually have this entry in your PC. There is a file called host. You can do that. Sometimes people do that. They modify the host file in your PC for your internal needs. But majority of the times it works using the DNS server, and DNS server gives you the IP addresses for all the host names you provide to the DNS server. So the key takeaways, we looked at what is DHCP and what is DNS. Thank you for your time. In case of question, you can drop a comment below or drop me an email at mtmlearning@gmail.com. Thank you so much.